The first thing we had to do is realize that there's another avenue than finding a cure. It's like you think life is going to change after the next treatment. After the next treatment, we'll do this. When I'm better, this. And we can't live like that. We have to know how to live well when we're not well.
Hello and welcome to Separate Bathrooms. My name's Daddo.
And I'm her husband, Cameron Daddo.
That's right. We would like to acknowledge the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation, the traditional custodians of this land, and pay our respects to the elders, both past and present.
We're talking about chronic pain today. I know a lot of people have experienced chronic pain. A lot of people are experiencing chronic pain.
Yeah.
There's a book that's been written. It's called The Chronic Pain Couple from Karra Eloff.
Yeah, she's a health professional. She's a speaker and an entrepreneur dedicated to help suffering people find joy. What a beautiful dedication that is to do that. She is managing director of 2 private psychology clinics on the east coast of Australia and is the founder of The Chronic Pain Couple. It's an organisation that delivers practical support to people with chronic pain and their loved ones. She's bringing her husband with her, who's also a clinical psychologist called Johann. Let's bring them into the bathroom and just hear all about their incredible story. Welcome to Separate Bathrooms. Nice to have you with us.
Thanks for inviting us. This is exciting.
Yeah, thank you.
Karra, you have written a book called The Chronic Pain Couple: How to Be a Joyful Partner and Have a Remarkable Relationship in Spite of Chronic Pain. So we really want to dive into what all of that means and also your relationship together, how you met and all that good stuff. But as you say in your book, on average, 1 in 5 adults suffer from chronic pain. And that's a pretty high statistic. I had no idea. That's a lot of relationships being affected by chronic pain.
It is. What a blessing that you don't know about that statistic. That's good.
Truly.
Yeah, and you're right. 1 in 5 adults have chronic pain. And as we get older and hopefully wiser, that increases to 1 in 3 over 65 years. So it's quite a concern for a lot of people.
Can you define chronic pain?
Chronic pain is typically described as pain that lasts for longer than the period that we'd expect tissue to heal in. And so typically that's around the 3-month mark. Some people do extend that out to 6 months, but it does mean that pain should have resolved if you're considering everything from the tissue healing point of view.
Wow. Johann, do you work with Karra, with the organisation that is that a thing that you both set up, the Chronic Pain Couples?
Yeah. I actually don't work with Karra in that space. I'm just the husband in that area. But we do work together at the psychology practice as well. So she's the managing director and I'm one of the other directors. So that's where we work together in that space. Yeah.
Oh, because I knew you were, obviously you're a clinical psychologist. I wondered if the two of you had started it together. But how did you two meet?
Oh, how did we meet? I'm going to answer this one so I can add in all the great details.
I need Johann to concur.
Yes, we'll get the nod, but it'll go for longer than 10 seconds, which is probably what you're looking for. I'm from a small country town in Queensland, and I moved to Brisbane for university. We met through mutual friends there, but the interesting part is that I'd actually seen him 4 years earlier at a music concert. And my sister, when she met Johann, said, that's the guy who 4 years ago you said you want your husband to look like that. No. And then somebody I'd met in Brisbane in the city actually called Johann and said, I've just met your wife. And I didn't know that she knew Johann. So even though we met and we thought it was the first time, there were a couple of different earlier experiences.
Yeah. I concur. Yeah, that sounds a bit accurate.
Wow. So were you both studying psychology at the same time then?
I'm actually not a psychologist.
I thought you were.
No, so I do run the clinics, founded them. And it's actually a journey from having chronic pain that put me in that position, actually, because
Right.
originally I was a speech pathologist in a pediatric clinic, and I worked alongside Johann a little bit. He was on his own working in psychology, and then because of health reasons and also my interests, I decided to create a company around Johann and what he did, and it works well, I think. We work well together. We've also got Johann's sister on board. She's very smart and passionate as well, and also a clinical psychologist. And so, that's what it looks like inside the clinic.
So how far into the relationship did you guys decide to work together?
What was it? So I think it's when Karra's pain sort of started. She was working as a speech pathologist for a few years, and her pain was sort of just getting worse over time, and it kind of got to a point where we kind of realised that, it just wasn't sustainable for her to keep going to work every day and to work with all kids on the floor, just because it exacerbated the pain so much. It was at that point where we needed a more flexible sort of arrangement for her. So she started to kind of manage, I guess, the practice that I started, and took it from there, from a 1 or 2 man practice to a 20 psychologist practice that it is today. So so she's been brilliant in that space, but also provided with a bit of flexibility. So if she has days where it's a bit difficult to get to the office, she can work from home and do things from here.
Can you share about your story, Karra, about what is your specific chronic pain?
Yeah, sure. So we just returned from London. We were living in London for a bit. We moved back to Australia, moved to the Sunshine Coast, and when we were out furniture shopping, I just collapsed. I thought that it was quite painful around my right hip area. And at first we thought that it was a running injury because I really enjoyed long distance running. So I followed rehab to a T. I started flying interstate to see some of Australia's best specialists in that specific joint that I was having trouble in, the sacroiliac joint. And after some time and a number of years, it became evident that it wasn't an injury. It was actually something that was spreading through my body to other joints, and I was diagnosed with spondyloarthritis. So that's a type of arthritis that usually comes a little bit later in life. I was very early in my 20s, and it affects your spine, where your pelvis connects to your spine, peripheral joints, and also for me, it affects where the muscle attaches to the bone as well. And then some years later, I was diagnosed with endometriosis and adenomyosis. So I've had a couple of operations for that. So that's the picture of what the health challenges are that came to me and into our relationship.
And how far into the relationship were you actually married at the point where this happened, or were you just dating?
I got married so little. I got married when I was 19 because when you find someone perfect like this, not perfect, there's no perfect, right, guys? But when you find somebody so incredible, you just know. And I got married so little, 19, and it was 21 that this happened. So it was we had been together for 4 years, thankfully. But when you get married, you say in sickness and in health.
Yeah.
But you don't think it's going to be 2 years later. You picture when we're 70, I'm probably going to be able to sit by your bedside because I won't be able to move anyway myself. So, and then this happens when you're so young, it really rocks you.
Johann, what have you learned from this journey thus far?
Oh, goodness. That's a good question, Cam. I think, I learned obviously a lot about chronic pain. When Karra first injured herself, for the first 5 or 6 years, I sort of patiently waited for the solution or the cure to come around. But 5, 6 years into the process, we realised that maybe the pain's not going to go away, that it's here to stay. And So learned a lot about chronic pain, learned a lot about, I guess, the medical professional, and I guess the limitations of what it is that we know about the human body and a lot of these diseases. But then also, I guess, learning a lot about myself. I guess, like Karra was saying before, you kind of make the commitment when you get married, and you've got this idea initially that, it's going to be, absolutely amazing, for the first 60 years until you get old. But, very quickly I realized that life doesn't always turn out the way that you think it would. And, kind of learned how we're, fairly adaptable and flexible. And, so I think, I was saying I'm a bit speechless because I was sort of saying to Karra the other day, like, she's done a few of these sorts of interviews, and I'm in a position now where I'm really forced to sort of think and reflect on the last 10 years. And at times it gets quite challenging.
It's not a bad thing, I reckon, looking back and reflecting on things like that. I remember when Elle went through, you went through your miscarriage, the big one that she had, and it was really, it was tumultuous, and what she had to go through in order to do that procedure and everything. And I remember what I learned at that time was I didn't know that I had the capacity to care that ended up revealing itself through that time. And I imagine with you, you've married this active gal who's beautiful and, was a runner, and suddenly she's not able to move around. She can't go climb Mount Kilimanjaro, like you planned in 5 years' time or something. And as you say, you switch, and you've got that horrible word from COVID, pivot. But I hated that. But I imagine you had to do that, and then you had to learn new things. And would that be a fair assessment for you, that your capacity to care grew?
Again, a really good question. As a psychologist, innately, I'd like to believe that I'm a very caring person, but 6 years into the process, after a while, I started developing a bit of compassion fatigue. It kind of got to the point where I guess if someone goes through a tragic event or hurts themselves, you can care and be compassionate, and they get better and you move on, sort of thing. But if you deal and live with something like chronic pain day in, day out, sometimes there were periods where it got quite hard, and the capacity to care actually was quite limited. But then through that, I had to dig deep and work out, well, how can I actually grow that capacity? Because the pain is here to stay. So I need to pivot.
But it's really interesting because the partners that experience compassion fatigue are often the ones that care more for their partner than themselves. So it's not that the people experiencing compassion fatigue don't have compassion or they have limited resources. It's that they are genuinely concerned for the person that they love more than themselves sometimes. And we had to really sit down and look at Johann and have a look at what he needed as an individual, because a lot of the treatments and the appointments, they're all based on me and the person with pain. And we had to go, okay, what do you need as well? Because you're emptying, you're always filling up my cup. What can we do to fill up yours? And make sure we focused on that.
And what was that? What helped?
Well, I think for a long time,
surf,
drugs, alcohol. No, I'm kidding.
well, chronic pain has a way of consuming your life, and after years, all of a sudden, my identity was being a carer, being a Karra's psychologist at times, being her physio, being her doctor, and it kind of lost myself, along the journey somewhere. And we had to sit down and talk about, well, what is it that we both need as individuals? So we need more than just living for chronic pain. So surfing was one big thing that I started getting back into the gym, seeing friends, just focusing on my own mental health, and that can kind of really help to kind of grow my capacity to care more, looking after myself.
Yeah.
Right.
We've mentioned this charity before because we spoke to a lady who started up something called the Carers Club, and she spent a long time caring for her mother with terminal cancer, and she realized how much care she needed as the carer, and so she's got a club called the Carers Club that you can log on to and talk to, and it's all about caring for the carers. And I'd sort of I'd never thought of that in such a deep way before, but you're like the more couples we're hearing about. We had another couple of her husband had alopecia and the mental health issues that he went through and what she was doing for him, and the that term, the compassion exhaustion, makes so much sense. And hearing from you, that I'm sure that there's a lot of people out there that don't make it through. The couples can't make it. They run out of compassion, and then it must fall apart relationship wise.
Yeah, definitely. There's two types of chronic pain couples I often come across. And the first one is they are just struggling to have a lot of joy in their relationship. They're still close. They pull together well. They communicate well, but they don't have as much joy. And the other one is one where pain has just been a huge wedge in their relationship and they can't draw closer to each other. So there are those two differences in how much pain impacts your relationship. But I think it always, when the condition is causing fatigue and changes in hobbies and your career and your lifestyle and your social life and your intimacy, all these different things, then it creates challenges. But I think one great thing we looked at and did was there were so many conversations we were having over and over again. And it's things like, okay, I struggled with getting shopping out of the boot of the car. So I would often ask Johann about helping with those things. And then once we actually sat down and went, okay, here are the things I'm struggling with. And then we decided which ones Johann was happy to help with, and we outsourced the rest. And then since then, we haven't had to speak about those things ever again because it's been problem solved once. And so that creates more space for joy and fun in our relationship because we just put things into processes. If it happens twice, we can put it in a process.
Smart.
So what do you say to couples that lovely little we do that. What do you? I can see that you are. It's actually what you
it's
just
like
said.
We're running it like a business.
If you go into one of our clinics, our team is we know what we're doing. We've got processes down to a T, and it means you can enjoy work more. And we've just found it's the same for a relationship. Why when we're living together should we talk about problems that come up often if we can turn it into a process? And look how happy we get such satisfaction when we problem solve something and we know we never have to problem solve that again.
I love that.
So that's interesting. So do you like have flow charts and butcher paper hanging on the side of the wall where you've done, okay, now if we do this, we go down there, we go down that one, we tick that box and move down there. Could it be that way? Could it be that
flow
simple?
Chart. Oh, I could probably get it in a flowchart. I think you're inspiring me now, Cam.
Good idea.
I think I have to clear my afternoon to make some flowcharts. No, it's not in a flowchart, but it's definitely on paper. It's actually something in the chronic pain couple. I've got multiple PDFs just to hand out to couples and go, hey, here are the 5 issues that often come up in this area. Let's spend 10 minutes now and we problem solve it. And then the couples don't have to talk about it again. So it's definitely on paper, not on a flowchart though.
And so what do you say to couples that are struggling, with, I mean, you mentioned those two ways that where it's a wedge between the couple, or it's just, it's chronic, I mean, it's fatigue of
empathy.
Carers. Pardon?
Empathy.
Carers empathy. So is there any, I mean, I guess you've got a procedure for that too, what do you say to couples who are going through these things?
Yeah. First of all, how sucky is it It is so sad that our bodies don't last forever and that they cause problems. There's so many things I would say, but I think in the very start of the journey, the first thing we had to do, and the first thing I really encourage couples to do, is to realize that there's another avenue than finding a cure. I think you think because your life changed so much when the condition came that that's the answer for the condition to go. But that means that you just wait. We spent 6 years doing it, and you just wait because you think pain is too big to live this great life that I'd planned and hit big goals, and you don't have the energy for it. And it's like you think life is going to change after the next treatment, and you actually talk like that to your partner. After the next treatment, we'll do this. When I'm better, this. And we can't live like that. We have to know how to live well when we're not well. And that was a big decision that we had to make. It's a big one couples have to make. But part of that is the really tricky thing of accepting that this is the situation, because no couple can move into a great relationship and remarkable life if they don't first acknowledge that, yes, this is the situation.
Yeah.
And I'm babbling now a bit, but I think
No, you're not actually. This is really clear to me what you're saying. It's great. Keep going.
Great.
Please keep
That's
going.
Good. So, so I think that we're scared to accept it because we think that if we accept our situation that we're going to give up.
Right.
If I accept that, and who wants to accept pain? It's awful. If I accept pain, this is how my life's going to be forever. No way. That is not the case. And you will stay motivated, but you have to give yourself that compassion and the understanding and the ability to go, yes, this is the situation right now, but I can change it. And in order to change it, I need to realize that there's other avenues than just healing. And that doesn't mean that you don't have a great healthcare team and pursue treatments. We pursue treatments every day. But our joy is not hinging on a cure.
That's so beautiful. I love that so much. It's fantastic.
One of my favorite books is a book called The Obstacle is the Way. You lean into the obstacle, and that's what you're saying. Is that what you're saying? So lean into the pain, lean into the thing, and go, all right, what is it for? Yeah.
But don't let it define you.
Well, you can't fix something unless you accept it is that way.
Yeah.
And when you're in pain, you have so much physical suffering that not accepting it is actually causing more suffering because you're creating a gap between who you are and who you want to be. And that gap is so painful. But if we just accept this is who we are, this is how life is now, then we can use all of our energy on the practical, low-energy ways to make life and love great.
Yeah. And that's what you want, as you want the couples to do that as well, not only just the person suffering the chronic pain, but also the partner in that as well.
Yes, and you know why? Because the biggest research finding I found when I was researching this is that it's not only your pain intensity that determines relationship satisfaction, it's the mental health wellness of both partners.
Yes.
When I read that, it made me think, hang on, there's more avenues to a great life than just finding a cure, but also it relied on a partner's mental health as well in a relationship, not just the person with pain. And that's why in the book I did put in a big chapter called The Other Side and looking at how we can support a supporting partner as well.
Yeah. Fantastic.
Can I just say, just quickly, with the pain part of it, if you're not accepting it, you're just going, I hate this, and you've got all those feelings of like anxiety or anger, and why is this happening to me, and those sort of feelings around it. That's really adding to it, isn't it? Whereas when you're talking about accepting it, and you can almost, like, as I sort of alluded to before, you lean into it, accept it, it tends to relax you a bit more, doesn't it? You're not living this life of going, why isn't it different?
Yes, exactly. And there's the energy side to it. But interestingly, have you heard of Krista Neff's book, Self-Compassion?
No.
It's a really great book, and she talks about self-compassion, which is actually popping up in the research as really important for people with chronic pain. And one of the areas that is involved in self-compassion is common humanity and mindfulness. So really just understanding that we're human beings and our bodies aren't going to be how we want them to be all the time, and not judging our thoughts as well. So just being kind to ourselves with the thoughts that come up. So it is okay to go, I really don't like where I'm at right now.
Yeah.
I'm really disappointed that I can't do what I want to do. I'm often disappointed sometimes, when I can't head out into the surf sometimes. But if we dwell on that and then we judge ourselves for being negative, or if we take that thought further, we're just using energy that we could be using on practical solutions.
Yeah. Yeah, because for me, it's not about being able to go, oh, I love this chronic pain. I love where I'm at. I need to accept it all and be okay with it. I mean, because I feel like the important thing is, as you were saying, this sucks having this. I mean, I'm thinking about my menopausal symptoms.
No, yes.
Yeah, I'm sure you see a lot of couples in the menopause world, because menopause can cause chronic pain. It ups it a lot. So, and I don't like it. I don't like those symptoms, but it doesn't mean that I don't have to like myself at the same time. So it's being able to say all those things, and because I think sometimes there's a lot of pressure to feel like we have to be, accept our new body shape and accept everything that's going on in order to move forward. But it's having all those feelings around it is what I understand you're saying as well.
Yes. And that's that self-compassion side of, if we were if we were running a long distance race and we wanted to motivate ourselves, yes, you could tell yourself, run harder, you're not doing good enough, you're being lazy. Or you could tell yourself, hey, I know you're getting tired, but imagine how good you're going to feel when you cross that finish line. Which option do you think is going to make you have a more comfortable race to the end of that finish line?
Yeah.
Either way, hopefully you get there, but there's a nicer way to get there than being hard on yourself.
And Ewan, for you, do you ever feel like, maybe not so much now, I don't know, but do you ever feel like if you, stub your toe or you get a paper cut, that you can't complain because your wife is in so much chronic pain?
I have those moments all the time, and I hurt myself, and I get the man flu.
Yeah.
And I think to myself, I'm experiencing some sort of pain at the moment. I wonder what Karra's pain must be like. If I can't tolerate this small sickness or injury, what must it be like living with it day in, day out? And yeah, in those moments, it just blows my mind. I have to stop thinking about it, because I just don't understand how people can live with chronic pain. And I've lived with a partner with chronic pain for so long, but I still, I don't understand it.
But Johann,
it's interesting.
Johann, do you allow yourself to spend a day in bed with man flu? Because sometimes that's what's required, right?
Oh, hold up, Cam. Hang on.
Do you allow yourself to put your foot up when you cut your foot on some coral or a sharp rock from surfing? So,
Cam, I need a week or two to recover, mate, from those injuries. Yeah.
Okay. Do you take that week or two?
If I'm absolutely honest about, feel way too guilty to do so. I've got too many things to do, but I wish I could sometimes.
What do you do? What do you do to give yourself those treats? What sort of treats do you give yourself? You mentioned surfing, and I totally understand that. Saltwater therapy is the best, especially cold salt water, for me anyway. What do you give yourself? Getting out of nature. So surfing is one of those things. Going for lots of hikes with mates. I try and go to the gym very regularly as well. I like just getting some physical exercise. And just, day-to-day sort of things, going out for dinners, again, with friends and family. Went to a comedy night the other night.
So these are all
Wow.
sort of individual things that I do. But then Karra and I also try and make a bit of effort to, spend some good quality time together as well. And I think that's something we talk about in a moment or so, is how we kind of connect. Because that's the other thing that kind of fills up my cup, is having moments to connect with Karra, where she also has a little bit more capacity, where we're not constantly problem solving or talking about pain.
You write in your book, Karra, this is in the introduction, my life was once focused on the daily burden of managing persistent pain while I watched in alarm as the romantic connection with my husband slipped away. Often we planned dates as if I was, ignoring the fact that I could barely make it out the door, let alone be good company. Across from each other in a beautifully dim-lit restaurant, our main topic of discussion was how long I could tolerate sitting before the pain became too uncomfortable and we needed to leave. So much for enjoying a romantic evening. Thankfully, this struggle was short-lived, not because my pain decreased or went away, but because we made a decision together not to allow the illness and pain that had entered my body to sidetrack our relationship. That's so beautiful, and it just gave such a beautiful snapshot of what it must be like for so many couples, but specifically when you were talking about that, just here you are, you're a young couple in love going out for a romantic dinner, but you're already timing it for how long I can sit in a chair for.
Yeah.
When you're with your organization, how often are you hearing stories like that, and what do you do with those couples that are talking in that way? Where do you take them to, and what's the first step to talk to them about?
A lot of the time when individuals or couples, it's interesting, often when people are at that couple number 2, often there's not a partner that's willing to engage.
Right.
They've often gone past that point, and both partners just don't know how they're going to be together. So there's that one, that kind of client that comes, but also there are the couples and individuals that are just looking for more joy, but often they come in a state of overwhelm.
Yeah.
They aren't sure. They say to me, we have no idea what to do right now, who to go to, how we should be changing our life, because they're in this rat race of just trying to find a cure, that everything else starts just falling apart around them. And so often the first session is about getting clarity on where they're at in their journey and finding out, okay, what isn't going so well for them. And often it's things like the partner with pain is in a boom and bust cycle. So often they are trying to hold things together and not giving their body the rest that it needs and pushing through. And then they all of a sudden have a big flare up, which causes a lot of stress for a supporting partner, because then a supporting partner comes in, feels helpless, doesn't know what to do. Everything feels out of control because now they're going, do we need to go to the hospital? What treatments can we do? You're in a big flare up. And so it's about educating them on how pain works, how our danger alarm system, we call it, in our body works, and how pacing is important. And then having a look at what's important to them. What are they missing? Sometimes a couple says, I just want to play cards together after 7 p.m. Or sometimes a couple says, I want to actually have sex more than once a month. And so we have a look at that being the goal. So every individual person and couple have very different goals, but it's always starting by getting on the same. I call it getting on the same team. Yeah, that's our first session together. Getting on the same team.
Can I ask you a question about the chronic pain? Do you find that, in your experience, both of you, that men will hide the pain more often than a female will hide the pain? Or are they both, do you think it's fairly consistent with both?
Ooh, I love a bit of research. I think you're going to put me onto a new research project, Cam.
Flowcharts.
Yeah, flowchart. Look, women do experience chronic pain a lot more than men.
Why is that?
Yes, a lot more. Well, some Some research does go into this a biological reason, and there's actually a lot of research getting done right now into why women have more pain and how that can provide us with more information on pain treatments.
Okay.
So yeah, that's a really good question about hiding pain. Let's have a look at some things I do see in gender. Often males will close up a lot quicker when they are struggling. When I work with couples, often we do have to do a little bit more work around communicating emotions and struggles and mental health for men. But I think that both couples can get in, both genders can get in that struggle of that boom and bust cycle. And one thing that I think I see a lot of males struggle with is that role. They have this concrete idea of who they should be in a relationship and a family. You know, the active dad and the providing husband, and that's something that can really be a challenge for males in particular, because it's big in our society. You know, we have these big ideas of what men should look like, and I think that it's important that we go, hey, our bodies aren't made to last forever, and we have to adapt to what they throw at us.
And I think from a partner's point of view, this just talking about gender differences and things, I certainly know for me, I'm a big fixer, despite the fact that I'm a psychologist and I need to listen to feelings. But when push comes to shove, when Karra has a flare-up, I go into problem-solving mode. I go into this fight-or-flight thing where I go, okay, what are we going to do? You know, heat packs, ice packs, medication, massages, hot baths. Do I need to call, an ambulance? What do you need? And I run around like a headless chick sort of thing, when sometimes all she needs in those moments is, for me to sit down to hold and say, hey, it's going to be okay. We're going to get through this one. Yeah.
And a lot of males that I chat with, they have commented, which I don't hear as much from women, but males going, I wish I didn't push my partner away in anger, that they're reflecting on why they are experiencing relationship breakdown, and they're going, actually, I just didn't know how to deal with all of these emotions, and I pushed away the one person that could have been there to help me.
What would you say, Karra, if what's the best, as you're the person with the chronic pain, how can you best be supported? I mean, obviously, you've said I would do the same thing, and I have done the same thing with Elle, and it's taken me a bit to, instead of going, look, here's some Voltaren, which has been my favourite thing through any kind of pain, but here, take this or do that, or what's the best thing to do in that situation?
Well, this is one of my PDFs. This is one of my print-off sheets. I've got the 5 top things. I love getting a list of what are the 5 top things that you can do to help me practically when I'm experiencing a flare-up. But also, what are the top 5 things that you can help me with when I'm not experiencing a flare-up but could help me to avoid experiencing more pain? And then having that list is amazing, because then Johann knows what to do. We don't even have to talk about it. We can be chatting. I can say, hey, I'm not feeling really well. He can go and, organize some of those practical things while we're still talking about a great show that we enjoyed or something like that.
That's smart.
Is it?
No, I just think it's really great. I just love how the two of you.
Was that his judgment stare, Elle, to Cam? Like,
no.
Hang on. What?
She's like,
No, it's really not. I don't know why he's taking it to this guilt thing. Like, I'm just going, I'm sure you can, as a psychologist, you could be like having a whole lot of like stuff going on there, diagnosed here. I am not looking you in a guilt trip way at all. No, I'm really not. I'm just thinking it's really, really interesting and beautiful how the two of you, through this experience, this huge life experience, again, you've taken this what could be, what is a challenging thing and what could be a real life-altering thing in a very negative way, and you've created this program not only for yourself but for other people. And I just love that. And I think even without the chronic pain, the tips that you're giving in relationship is really fabulous. Like, you're just streamlining shit in a lot of ways.
And that's hard to do.
Yeah, it's like we fight about like who's gonna take out this, or who's gonna do the rubbish, or who's gonna dust. It's like, well, just have it on a flow chart or whatever it is. Right? Take that out, or whatever it is we're working with.
Yeah.
Like what's the what, as you say, what's the thing that's constantly coming up as an argument, and how do we just resolve that so it doesn't come up again? But I just love how you've talked about it, so you don't even need the communication. It's already written on a list. It's really good.
I know. And then you can just fill it with sex and fun and and joy, joyful stuff. There's actually a section in the book called Fighting Fast. Like, how do we do a really quick bicker, because you're going to bicker in a relationship, but I think all of this comes when you don't have the energy to spend your whole day trying to find something that brings you joy. You've got to be so intentional with what energy you have. And that has been a blessing. And I mention it in the book. I say this could be a gift, and I know it's going to rub people up the wrong way, because people might be listening to this and they're back where we were in the thick of it, feeling overwhelmed. And we're saying, hey, it could actually, make life better. And at the same time, it's really rubbish that chronic pain exists. But that being intentional and having to be intentional, you can either look at it as you've now only got, 3 hours in a day where you can do really great stuff, or you can look at it going, let me work out what really brings me joy to do that.
Right.
And finding out what you both value. Like, one of the charts is a values chart. I feel like I'm going to get judgment now for a cam every time I say I've got a page, but
no. I'm all for it. I think it's great. I'm a visual guy.
Yeah.
I learn from visual things. So yes, no judgment here.
Yes. So it's a values activity, and going, all right, what do I value and what does Johann value, and seeing which ones align, because that's where we should spend the most of our time together, because that's going to be the hard-hitting, really joyful time.
Yeah. So the Chronic Pain Couple is your book. So people can not only buy your book, but you have your organization as well. If people don't live close by to you, do you have like online seminars? Can people sort of dial in and be a part of this organization as well?
Yeah, so I actually don't provide any face-to-face consults in person. Everything's online.
Perfect.
Because with energy being a factor, it is just so much easier if you jump on for Zoom. So I do live webinars, sometimes, always doing one-on-one work with clients. And then also we go through a 6-week program, so where they can watch online training in their own time and then meet with me each week and just really look at how to practically problem solve. Because yes, there's couples counselling in the world, and yes, there's treatments for your health condition, but what about that middle area where it's questions like, how do I show my partner I love them when I'm stuck on the couch? Or just that really practical hacks that are low energy but high impact.
Love it.
You guys, I mean, it's the perfect thing for this age, where people like to have things quick and fast and show me how to do it and just tell me what to do. And this is it. The book, The Chronic Pain Couple. I know a lot of our listeners listen to this podcast while they're walking or running or doing active things and going through painful things, and they listen to this to get them through. So I'm sure this is going to assist a lot in that. You guys are fantastic. Thank you for your time.
Thanks for having us on.
You're welcome.
Can I just do one?
Thanks so
Can I
much.
just do one thing? We normally do a little a quick 2-minute shower, and we ask a few little questions. But I did just want to ask one thing of each of you, because I'd love to hear your answer. How would you describe each other in one word?
That's easy. Jackpot. No, we did an interview yesterday, and I know it's super, super corny, and I honestly, truly believe it. And I think it's sometimes good for Karra to hear it as well, because I don't say it enough, that despite everything over the last 10 years, everything we've been through, I still feel like I've hit the jackpot, and I wouldn't change a thing. If I could go back, 12 years and, decide whether I was going to marry you or not, knowing everything that we know now, I'd still marry you. Yeah. So jackpot, that's mine. Yeah.
That's
What's yours?
Yeah, I think mine's consistent. Like, there has not been a time where I haven't felt Johann's love or his humour or his compassion that is just... There's times where things get hard, but he's just so consistent in that it's you and me versus this, like, and I think that consistency's been really incredible for me when my health has been up and down. And for me it's that consistent support.
No one's said jackpot before.
No.
And I don't think anyone said consistent either. It's amazing. We've talked with a lot of different couples, and it's always unique.
It is beautiful.
What is not unique is the love that gets sparked through that question, and we just witnessed it then. So thanks so much, guys, for being with us and chatting with us today.
Yeah,
thanks for having us.
Thanks, Elle.
Thanks so much for your time.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.
Johann and Karra Eloff, beautiful.
That was so beautiful. Gosh. I just was really blown away by their relationship and how young that they were to be dealing with
Chronic pain.
Such a challenge. I mean, and that's a lifetime of chronic pain, unless there is some miracle cure that pops up for her. But what a solid, loving couple they are.
Yeah, and how to make the best of a situation.
Yeah, I think that's going to touch a lot of people. The chronic pain. I know a lot of couples that deal with that. It might not be chronic pain that lasts for years and years like Karra's, but I know a lot of couples that deal with, particularly the woman in the relationship that goes, if it's not migraines, then it's different aches and pains. There's a lot of things, and I am really curious because she actually mentioned it on her own. The percentage of women that have chronic pain much more than men is, as she said, a lot higher, and that seems to be my experience as well.
She would know that. I wonder if it's a testosterone thing or it's a chemical thing. I don't know. Do you feel like you have chronic pain? I know you've gone through a few episodes of different ailments.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't say I have chronic pain, but I would say I've had like some back-to-back stuff, which is frustrating as all hell. But I wouldn't say chronic pain unless it's chronic not being able to sleep. Then that's years of that.
Chronic husband being a pain in the neck.
No, that's not why I can't sleep.
And that's the chronic snoring.
I thought you were going to say it's a snoring. No, that's not. That's whether you're there or not.
What I was going to say was what I loved about that, be kind to myself, when she was saying be kind to yourself or when you're going through that painful part of it. And I know when I've had pain, how I'm not kind to myself and I get very irritable when I can't do the things that I would ordinarily easily be able to do because I'm having some issue, and that's something that I think, I know that's when I've looked deeper into whatever the pain is and I've gone, okay, what is this teaching me, and maybe it is patience, and there's Curly wagging his head, or is it patience or tolerance, because I find that in those painful moments, I will go, oh my gosh, my patience just goes out the window and I start lashing out at anything and everything.
That's something that menopause has taught me big time, is just being, it's okay to hate the symptom, but it's not okay to hate myself. So it's just being, okay, it's here, and how can I help myself right now? What can I do that's going to feel better? And if it is just going to bed for a sleep in the middle of the day, or just going, actually, I can't go for that long walk. I can't do it. Yes, it might make me feel better on paper, but it's not what I actually need right now. I actually just need to go to bed, or I need to go to have a bath, or I need to just do a small walk and a cup of tea.
Okay,
you know?
so is there anything you need right now, sweetheart? Can I make you a cup of tea?
I think I need lunch.
Okay. Well, let's go have some lunch. Thank you so much for joining us. If you're walking, if you're lying down, if you're in the car driving, thank you for joining us. Separate bathrooms today. Rate us if you when you stop and you have a moment. We'd really appreciate that through whatever platform you're listening on. Until next time, stay safe.
Thanks for listening. Bye.